Hey everybody, welcome to lessonswithtroy.com. I'm Troy Brenningmeyer. Well, in this week's lesson, we're going to be focusing on improving your tone and technique. And we'll be focused on the left hand, the right hand, and lots of different techniques to help eliminate bar noise, or at least reduce it quite a bit, and noise with your right hand, how to get good tone with your right hand placement. I've got this cool angle here that's new for me, at least, to really dial in this left hand so that when we focus on hammer-on and pull-off techniques, you can really see what minimal movement I'm doing there for hammer-ons and pull-offs. We'll be focused on vibrato and some new ways that I think about vibrato now, after taking, studying Hawaiian guitar for a little bit. There's all kinds of neat ways to hopefully share with you what I've learned over the last few years to improve your tone and technique. So let's go ahead and dive on in here to just simply how to hold the dobro to make it sound better. Okay, so real quick, this is a really easy thing to do, and that's adjusting your instrument if you normally have it straight out in front of you, right, where it's perfectly straight left and right, and it's not pulled in towards your side. Alan Akaka kind of brought this to my attention. If you pull the body of your instrument, be it a lap steel, resonator guitar, whatever, a little bit closer to into your right side and push the neck a little bit more towards the outside of your, closer to your knee, like that. What that does then is that brings the angle of your forearm and your hand at this great angle to where it just naturally falls on your instrument. Now I kind of push that just a little bit away from my body, but I angle that, and that makes for the bar to be real straight, where I'm not having to adjust anything with my arm, my left arm or my right arm, to attack the strings at a good angle, or to move my arm or my hand to be straight on the fret. My hand is just going to naturally fall right there to where the bar is straight with the fret. But most importantly, too, is that puts your picks and everything at a great position to where you're not having to twist your wrist or your hand, and then you're not getting that scrapey sound with your picks. And that being said, you may want to twist your picks just a little bit to where they're attacking that string right with the flat part of your pick. And we'll get into that when we really dissect the right hand technique later on in the lesson. But yeah, it's just a real simple thing. Just kind of angle your instrument, and it should allow your forearm and your hand to just naturally fall in a great position there to where you don't have to bend it to compensate for the angle. The instrument itself is changing angles for you. Okay, let's dive into some left-hand technique now. I love this camera angle because you can see exactly what I'm doing with my bar. So let's talk about holding the bar, using your fingers to mute, the amount of pressure you're putting to reduce bar noise, dive into some hammer-ons and pull-off technique, all that stuff. So first of all, I'm using a shear horn stainless steel bar. It looks like this, and I kind of hold it like this. Now, sometimes this bar, a lot of times, wants to roll like this. I think it's not necessarily this bar, it's just my technique. Whereas if I was playing straight up with the bar straight up and down, it would look like that, right? Where my ring finger and pinky are straight out behind the bar, muting out, because you do have sound behind your bar, right? And when you put your ring and pinky down, that mutes out that sound behind your bar. So that's a good thing, just to get in the habit of always having that ring and pinky there straight out behind your bar. Even when you're doing hammer-ons and pull-offs, it's following that bar down. When your bar touches, your ring and pinky touch. Otherwise, you get this. You get that sound behind the bar. Just a little bit, but And also with those out there, it mutes out all those lower strings, so you don't hear the them ringing out if they happen to be. Now, so bar noise. A lot of people ask me, how to eliminate bar noise. I really think a lot of that has to do with the amount of pressure you're putting on the string. Right? You don't want to push down real hard on the string, like that, where you're seeing the string bend. Just the natural, just a little bit of pressure. There you're getting the bar noise. And then just pushing down just a little bit harder eliminates that. There you're getting the bar noise. If I push down, just really just the weight of my hand and the bar in my arm. Not really even having to push down that hard. So yeah, what could happen is, say you strum a chord, and if you're thinking about something else, if you let off your hand just a little bit, hear that bar noise right there? So keep that pressure equal, even when you're doing vibrato. We'll talk about vibrato technique in a little bit. What might be happening is when you're doing that vibrato, you're letting up the pressure on the bar. It'd sound like this. So keep that pressure real equal. And make sure that it's equal throughout the bar. You may be pushing down too hard on the tip of your bar. Right, and the back of your bar is coming up a little bit. So that it needs to be equal amount of pressure on all the strings. Otherwise, you get that. The other thing that might be happening too is if your strings aren't level, maybe on the bridge, if one may be a little bit shorter, when you push down, maybe that one string's a little bit below the others, and it's ringing on your bar. If nothing's working for you and you're still getting that bar noise, look into that. So yeah, equal pressure should take care of that. So keep that in mind. Okay, hammer-ons and pull-offs. That's a thing I get asked about a lot. And I just have a real simple exercise, and there's no tablature for this, by the way, either. It's just, I'll show you what I'm doing. But let's say we're going to do a hammer-on, 0 to 2 on your first string. Right? Simple enough. You just take your bar, and as you hammer down on that, your ring and pinky back there are muting out your lower strings. And when you hit that note, let's hit it in tune and then have vibrato. That's something I'm working on right now, instead of just immediately going to vibrato. Now, what we want real little movements, even with that hammer on. So it's not a big movement like... Right, it's just... It's kind of like Bruce Lee. I think he had that 1-inch punch, right, where he got all that force in just that little amount of space. So just like that. Just remember, hit the note, let it as it's naturally dying off, then add your vibrato. Okay, so we got that. Now, a pull-off. Let's change the wording of that. Let's call it a pull back, right? Pull-off makes you think of this, right? Pulling off the string. But a pull back makes you think of pulling back on the string. So notice how my bar, I'm just pulling straight back, and the tip of it is really picking that note. that string, if I go real slow, it's sliding right off the tip of my bar. And look at my ring finger there. See how my ring finger lifts up to get out of the way? That ring finger is going to be really important in that, let's say we want to play. Maybe we want to play something and use that ring finger to mute. You can have the control to be able to use that ring finger to touch the string in front of it to mute it out. Otherwise, we'll get into right hand muting techniques a little bit later, and that's what I really like to do, is pick blocking and palm blocking in addition to muting with that ring finger. But okay, here's the other thing that I get asked about a lot. When you do a pull off like that and you hear the sound of the bar hitting the strings, the string right behind the bar you did the pull off on, right? You hear that? Really, I hear that third string right there. I hear that. Well, what you want to do is right when you do that pull off, as soon as you pop that off, you're really popping it off, and then your bar is just slightly coming off the string. Just slightly coming off the strings, but your ring finger stays on the string, your second string, let's say. So your ring finger moves out of the way from that first string so you can hear it real well. And your bar is just going to either roll it back or just lift it up just real slightly to where that string noise comes off there. Now another thing to keep in mind is when you're doing a pull off and then you've got the next note you're going to play is away from that, so you're not pulling straight back. What you want to do is pull, let's say your next note is on your first fret second string. So pull off and then pull off. Immediately you're going to that first fret second string. So you're kind of pulling off and moving to the note you're going to, all in the same motion. See how you're hearing both notes there, or both strings? What you can do too is if you got that use of that ring finger in front of your bar, what you can do is right when you play that note there on that second string first fret, right when you play that, your bar is right there. If your your ring finger on your left hand is sticking out just a little bit in front of your bar, when you play that, it could touch that first string and mute it out if you want. Now, that's one way to mute. I do like to use, let me show you over here. I like to use pick blocking for that. Where maybe I'm using my thumb to pick that second string, right? And then when I do that, when I pick that second string with my thumb, these fingers back here and my pick touches what I just played. To me, that's a lot easier to do muting like that as opposed to doing so much with your left hand. And we'll get into pick blocking and all that in a little bit, but that's just kind of getting into it a little bit. But I really want to zoom in with the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing there with the pick blocking. Well, let me go back here and show you this neat little exercise where if you pick it once, let's say with your right hand, that first string, second fret, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a hammer-on pull-off exercise where we're just pulling back. We get the sound of the note, and then we hammer on. So we don't even have to do anything other than that first pick with our middle finger. Right like that. And this is an exercise I give my students quite a bit when they feel like their hammer-ons and pull-offs aren't real crisp. To do this, you have to be able to have a good, crisp, loud hammer-on and pull-off, because all the sound is coming from the hammer-on and the pull-off. Now look at what little amount I'm moving there. It says you want to move as little as possible, but with a lot of power and force with that hammer on and pull off. So think of the pull off as a pull back and a pluck. The string is sliding right off the tip of that bar. And then you're just angling that bar up just a little bit, if you can see. Just to where just that tip of that bar is hitting that. See, I just have that angled up just a little bit. Now we can start getting into the right hand technique now, because to do some of these really fast hammer-ons and pull-offs, I find that pick blocking and playing a lot with your thumb is really important. Okay, so let's do that now.